If you run a real estate brokerage, you're an independent brokerage in the United States and Canada, you need to listen to this video. You need to watch it because there's something happening in the world of real estate that you need to know about. And you need to know that it's an option, but it's not an option for everybody. A lot of independent brokerages are making the move and merging or moving under LPT Realty. And let me share with you who this does not make sense for and who it does based on some really simple things that I will walk you through in this super short but very informative and going to be very helpful video for you if you're an independent brokerage or you work in an independent brokerage and are exploring LPT. Before we jump into that, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're always giving you the best, most relevant information on all things real estate and all things LPT Realty. So here's the reality. Whether you're a real estate agent in Canada, you're in California, you're in New York, you're in Nevada, it doesn't matter, Arizona, you're a real estate agent in any of the states or in some of the provinces in Canada, and you have an independent brokerage. Here's the thing. A lot of people are realizing that the amount of stress and overwhelm that they get, amount of problems that they receive as a broker comes from being the broker of record, but most of their income comes from things that have nothing to do with being the broker of record. So I promised you that I would share with you who this doesn't make sense for. Here's who it doesn't really make sense for to make a move over to LPT. It's the broker who, has a traditional brokerage where you charge a split, you don't have a cap, and you don't give it any leads. They're like bare minimum. And I don't mean that to belittle you. What I mean is you give like the commensurate amount of like training, support, and tools. You're giving some basic guidance. You make sure that the copier machine is working, that there's coffee in the coffee maker. You don't necessarily go in and handhold anybody. You don't really mentor them. You don't really provide leads or anything like that and get an additional override. So maybe you're probably at like 70-30 with your new agents or something like that. And your top agents are getting like 95% or whatever. A lot of times moving to LPT doesn't make sense if you don't want to scale out, right? If you're just focused on staying local, keeping it kind of small, mom and pop, and I'm just going to ride these like unlimited splits, right? Not meaning you have some crazy number, but meaning there's no cap or anything like that. If that's how you're running, then this probably won't make sense to you because, hey, I just want to keep collecting my fees. I don't really bug my agents. They don't really bug me. We kind of just live this existence and I broker their files for a decent amount of money. And so everyone's happy and everyone wins. They're not looking for more. I'm not looking to give more. Let's call it a day, Isaac. I'm doing just fine. Awesome. LPT probably doesn't make sense. For the brokerages, though, that run more like teams, it makes all the sense in the world. Here's what I mean. All the brokerages that I've moved over, and I've moved over about 6 or 7 at this point, independent brokerages, is they kind of run like this. They have agents, right? They have plenty of agents. But where they make the majority of their money and where they spend the majority of their time is running kind of like an internal team. Some of them flat out call it like, hey, this is my internal team inside of my overall brokerage, or they kind of just run it that way. And so here's what they normally do. And if I'm describing you, you need to listen up. Maybe you do generate leads. Maybe you have Zillow Flex. Maybe you have some other accounts, or maybe you generate business on your own and you hand out those leads to agents to close on a higher split than what your brokerage charges. Okay. Effectively, you're running a team and you happen to have some independent agents sprinkled throughout your brokerage. Well, I would encourage you to do this because this is what all the people that I know that this light bulb went off on is go in and look at your revenue. Look at your revenue. And I want you to tease out all the things you did in order to get that revenue that are specific to something a team leader can do. Now, I want you to think about that. That's generating leads. That's training. Like you might attribute to a lot of that to being a broker. It's not. A team leader can train. A team leader can teach contract. A team leader can do a lot of these things. A team leader generates leads. A team leader pays for the CRM. A team leader can also make sure there's coffee in the coffee maker. What does a broker do that only a broker can do? Compliance, file review, those types of things. So I want you to break out those activities. What I want you to realize is this, and this is what most people realize. And if not, go ahead and comment. Say, Isaac, you're completely wrong. I did that exercise and it's not that way. Here's what most of everybody has found. In most cases, 90% plus of revenue can be attributed to things that a team leader can totally do without also having to be the broker of record. So that leaves somewhere around 10% in most cases of the revenue is attributed to Only I, as a broker of record, can perform those activities. Great, Isaac. Well, I don't want to lose that 5% of revenue or that 10% of revenue. Okay, cool. But there's another step to this exercise. What percentage of the headaches and the overwhelm and the stress and the sleepless nights that you experience would you attribute to being the broker of record, to dealing with the lawsuits, to dealing with all of the other stuff that comes along with being the broker of record? I bet you it's a lot more than 5, 10, even 50%. I want that to sink in. You're making this much money attribute to being the broker of record. You're making this much money off of activities that you can attribute to being a team leader. But it's almost the inverse when you talk about headaches, when you talk about the things that stress you out. So that's what most independent brokerages are realizing. They're realizing like, hey, hold on, I make most of my money doing things that a team leader could do. I'm also dealing with all these headaches and pain points and stressors. Imagine if you didn't have to deal with that stress and overwhelm and headache and all that, would you be okay with maybe having to give up 5% of your revenue? Which, by the way, is probably going to be offset because you also lower your expenses when you're not your own broker. Things like error and omissions insurance, having additional staff that you wouldn't otherwise need unless you were the broker of record. Most people turn around and go, as a matter of fact, Isaac, yeah, I attribute 5%, just making this up, right? But not far off from real conversations I'm having on a regular basis. Yeah, I'm giving up 5% of the revenue, but I'm also getting rid of about 6 or 7% of my expenses. That's a great proposition because your net income, right, tends to stay about the same, but with no headaches. Or not no headache. Let's be real. Everyone's got headaches. Doesn't matter what part of the business you're in, you're going to have headaches, but with far fewer and far less big implications of those headaches. Less lawsuits, right? Things like that. Not saying no lawsuits. We all get sued. It happens, especially when you start selling a lot. I don't got to remind you of that. But the point is this. A lot of people are seeing the light. And normally I'm pretty sensational in these videos, but I'll be real. I just wanted to talk real talk. Just got off a call with a buddy who said, dude, I'm tired of being the broker. So, man, I've been waiting for this call for over a year. I knew you were, but I wasn't going to pry. So after having a conversation with him, I figured I'd jump on the camera real quick, shoot a video and share the reality of what's going on. Because when you move over to LPT as an independent brokerage, you effectively just move over as a team, right? So that's what I'm saying. If you don't have a team, if you don't provide value to your agents such that you get an override, right? Like things like leads, ISA appointments, stuff like that, then yeah, it's going to be hard to give up that revenue. Now, the only people where that does make sense is they go, I want to build nationally. I'm a big recruiter, great audience, right? I can invest in people and I want to build revenue share and I'll offset what I give up in the form of revenue share. Hey, cool, right? My thinking though on this is it does make a lot of sense for the broker who runs an internal team or runs their entire brokerage like a team. Now, why is it better than other cloud-based brokerages? Because it might seem like, hey, I could just go to any one of them, pick it out of a hat and all those problems are solved. Well, that's where you got to start to get into the team dynamic. So I have a full comprehensive, like what I call the ultimate teams video on LPT. I'm going to link it in the description below. So that way you can go ahead and watch it and figure out why teams love LPT over every other model that's out there right now at the moment. And so there is a big opportunity for you as an independent broker in California. Give me a reach out. Texas, Nevada, Arizona, Florida. If you're a real estate agent in the 50 states here in the US and in Canada, you need to do yourself a favor. Click the link in the description below, book a one-on-one time with me. I'll answer all your questions. I'll tell you the stories about other people that have transitioned over, what considerations might be made, who knows, right? But I will break that all down for you. Go ahead, click that link. And don't forget, share this video, like it, subscribe. I'll see you on the other side.